Now, I was complaining on the show about how I've read my last roster. I've read my okay. I get, just get to the team, and then a couple of things happened, and it sort of changed my mind on how I feel this thing is going to shake out. And if this happens, and I believe it is, I think we might be in for something delightful here.
Okay.
I'm of the mind that Team Canada will have a line that goes like this: Anthony Cirelli, Brandon Hagel, and Tom Wilson.
Oh, I didn't know about that last name. The first two I had heard before, obviously
Yeah,
with Cooper coaching,
yeah,
there was always a notion that Cirelli was going to be part of the team to do heavy lifting on the fourth
yeah,
line. And then, I think it might have been Pierre LeBrun who mentioned today that Hagel was most likely going to make the team. And given the season that he's had,
yeah.
it may be controversial. Oh, Coop's getting his own guy, but I mean, he certainly has the numbers this year. The Tom Wilson part's really interesting. How do you feel about Tom Wilson being on a Canadian national team?
Well, I mean, listen, if you listen to anybody last time when the Olympics got scotched, Tom Wilson was probably going to be on that team. Like as far as this management staff goes, like he's very well thought of, and I think I think I can't speak to the USA here. You can probably shed some light on this one, but I think Canada is looking at this kind of at a 180 away from the way that they've constructed international teams, which is skill
Yeah.
adapts. Like for the longest time, Canada said, we're going to make it look like an NHL team. And then that didn't work. And Hockey Canada just said, let's just get the best players. I don't care what position they are. I don't care which way they shoot. Skill can adapt. And that's worked for Hockey Canada. This one feels different. This one feels like this is going to be an NHL style Team Canada. And if it is, and the United States puts together an NHL style USA, this might be the closest to one of the greatest tournaments we've ever seen that Canadians don't talk about, and neither do Americans. Canadians don't talk about it because Canada lost in spectacular fashion, and Americans don't talk about it because not a lot of Americans watched it. And that is 1996
Right.
and the World Cup,
Yeah.
which is, and again, I love 87. I'll put 96 right up against 87 any day of the week. Then we're talking about Lemieux and Kachuk and Primo and Guerin and fights and slashes and cross, like all of that. If USA and Canada play ball, I think Cirelli, Hagel, Wilson are on this team.
I see what you're saying, and again, like I do wonder ultimately if Canada does go in that direction, if that informs 2026 or not. Like they might just see this as a four-team tournament. They're going to play what one, two, three, what 4 games.
Uh-huh. Run over
So
some
maybe they
guys.
view it. Maybe they view it a little bit differently, being it's going to be a mid-season NHL tournament versus being the Olympics. But um, there is a chance they actually do a little Freaky Friday switch, because I talked to Bill Guerin a couple of weeks ago about the construction of this team, Team
Mm-hmm.
USA, and I asked him, I'm like, one of the things that Mike Modano, who was a teammate of Guerin's on the national team, had told me is one of the things that separated Canada and the U.S. for years was Canada's ability to, have their skill players play roles on the team,
Yeah.
and adapt to lower ice time and adapt to playing a more defensive role if that's not necessarily what they're known for. And I asked Guerin, I'm like, can you get these kids on Team USA to do that? Because you have a lot of skill there. You have an incredible amount of skill. Can you
Yeah.
depend on these young players to have that adaptation? And he said he thought so. Like he said, every successful team has guys that have to play a different role sometimes, and he kind of put it out there. We expect these young players to be able to do that. Now, ultimately, is that what actually happens, or is this Team USA roster going to have Vincent Trocheck? Is this Team USA roster going to have Chris
Yeah.
Kreider? Is it going to have a bunch of guys that are known more for their 200-foot game? Possibly. But it is fun to think about how Team Canada puts out a roster with Hagel and Cirelli and players like that, and Tom Wilson. And, Team USA is like, who cares? Cole Caulfield, fourth line. Let's go.
I just want like I had a conversation with someone the other day who said, like, I wonder how many players are going to miss like the first game back, because this could be like a really rough, violent tournament. Like, I don't know if it's going to treat it like All-Star, and if you miss a game, you're getting suspended. But the other thing that I do wonder about here are, like, I'm of the belief that there's going to be one major surprise for Canada. One major surprise. Someone told me this a while ago. Like, everyone's missing out on one thing. Could that be? And I'm wondering about the blue line specifically, because when you look at this team, like, how many PP1 quarterbacks does Team Canada need? Probably just one. Cale Makar. Okay, so then give him the full 2 minutes on the power play. So then how do you start to piece together a blue line? There are two names that I wonder about. Chris Tanev.
Go ahead.
And hang on, and Colton Parayko.
I mean, Parayko makes sense
because I'm told there's one big surprise coming for Canada.
But is Parayko a surprise if it's just like Doug Armstrong's guy that makes the roster?
No, because I think everyone's, like, all the prognostications of what Team Canada is going to look like. How many of them have you seen Colton Parayko on? Like, how many conversations has seen Colton Parayko in?
I understand what you're saying. I think he's in the mix. I think the second name the first name you said would be a shock. Like, Tanev? That would legitimately be a shock.
Honestly,
the Canadian national team, yes,
dude. I'm honestly thinking that. I mean, how do you win Stanley Cups right now? You have to defend now more so than ever. And you know how vibes go through the NHL? That vibe is through every single. You're going to win the cup. You have to defend, right? What does everyone marvel at with Vegas? They defend. You look at all the runs that they had when they won the cup. They defend, and that's why I just wonder: like, is Team Canada going to put someone like Tanev, someone like Colton Parayko on this lineup in lieu of another superstar?
It's not crazy.
I'm just fishing because I know there's a big surprise coming.
Yeah, I don't think that's too crazy. I mean, my reaction to Tanev is just the idea that Chris Tanev is on the Canadian national team over a litany of other named players. But if you're talking about putting together a winning roster, like sticking him next to, I don't know, like Makar, where Tanev's taking care of all the business in the back, and then Makar can fly around like Bobby Orr for 4 games. Like, that totally makes sense from a construction aspect. And the other aspect too, Marek, is that all of these things we're talking about, a Cirelli, a Hagel, a Parayko, a Tanev, this is all in service of the 3 guys that are going to be in the crease for this team. This is all in service of being a little bit or a lot bit worried about your back end. You're looking over your shoulder in the mirror.
Fine. Look away.
You're checking out the back of those jeans and seeing how it looks, because you know inherently it does not look good.
Yeah. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.